Welcome back to the Capital Mindset Show, everyone. Hope you guys are having a great day as always. Today, we're going to be talking about what stock I've been adding to the portfolio recently. And I told you guys I was done adding core holdings, but when the market presents an opportunity, I want to pounce. So I bought it today, 1/31/2023. And will I be buying more? That's the recording of this video, by the way, because in the future, I don't know when this video is going to be published. Okay, so that all being said, what is the stock that I bought? I bought Northrop Grumman. So let's talk about this stock. I think it's kind of important that we get started with this price action. It is actually down a lot year to date. If we actually take a look at that, it is down 17%. Well, the market's actually been roaring. What happened? Well, the story came out about, of course, the B-21 costs. And in the last earnings report, the stock actually tanked. It was one of the most severe drawdowns in this stock in such a short span of time in recent memory, if not, I think for the past decade or something like that. But anyways, so there's a lot of fear about the B-21, all the costs and the lack margins or lack thereof of margins. And really, I don't think that's an issue. I really don't. I feel like, okay, if that is the case, then yeah, okay, we need to really rethink this or at least price that in. But I looked at or listened to what management was saying. I listened to the last earnings call. They seem extremely confident with the product and the long-term aspects of the product. So basically, they just have to get it up to scale. They have to ramp it up. And that takes time. These things take time. Now, with Northrop Grumman, there are some really interesting parts or components that you can kind of think about. I think that there isn't anyone out there that really makes the argument that Northrop Grumman is a low-quality business. But the question is, what are we paying for it? But let's talk real quick about the company. I'm going to walk you through a bit of an introduction to the company if you haven't heard of it. So Northrop Grumman, this is a really good illustration that a member of the community did share, and I feel like I should share it with you guys here. So you do have the breakdown: missile defense, C4I, science and technology, ground, space, missiles, munitions, shipbuilding, aircraft. And you can see which ones Northrop Grumman is a part of. Aircraft, which is a huge spending category. We also have missiles and munitions. Remember, I had Aerojet Rocketdyne. And on that note, we'll talk about that in just a second. We also have space, which is a huge portion of, I guess, the future spending of the military. And I like that they have a lot of exposure to that. And in fact, Northrop Grumman is one of the best to get exposure to that. I would also kind of argue that L3Harris does have some offerings for space, but not in the same way that Northrop or Lockheed or Boeing do. So, fair enough. But other than that, I will also talk about another stock in just a second, but really kind of digesting here the really exciting parts of spend Northrop Grumman is exposed to. I also want to highlight that Huntington Ingalls was a spinoff of Northrop Grumman. I believe, I forget what year it was, but Northrop Grumman actually was in shipbuilding. They spun it off. It's one of the lesser attractive parts. General Dynamics is a solid company, but you can see General Dynamics is focused on totally different areas. And they used to be kind of a competitor to Northrop Grumman when they were competing in shipbuilding. But Huntington Ingalls, yeah, it's out there. But the other company I wanted to highlight that I have had in the past, if you guys have been with the channel for a while, you know that L3Harris was in the portfolio. We sold it last year. It was a good decision to sell last year because it was pretty much dead money. We actually sold it for a profit. Well, we bought it earlier than last year, and then we sold it last year. But yeah, we could buy it back now and basically be at where we bought it. I think slightly less. But point being, solid company as well, another contender to fill the shoes of Aerojet Rocketdyne, which is funny enough because they are the company buying it, and they're the cause of why I made over 40% in Aerojet Rocketdyne. So if you, again, been following the channel for a while, that's an old position. We no longer hold Aerojet Rocketdyne. That opportunity is gone. And here we are, L3Harris kind of giving us the cash. Well, I sold it into the market. I didn't really wait for the acquisition. We have Elizabeth Warren, of course, kind of talking bad about the merger, and you see that stock price shoot up a little bit. The balance sheet post or pre-Aerojet Rocketdyne merger is pretty solid. Post-Aerojet Rocketdyne won't be as pristine, but still pretty good. And you can actually see a switch going on between the stock prices. If I actually compare it to NOC, you'll actually see how they're moving in opposite directions right now. So maybe they're going to get closer, maybe not. I don't know. But Aerojet Rocketdyne, L3Harris, solid business. Northrop Grumman, solid business. I chose for now to go with Northrop Grumman. That might end up being a bad decision. Who knows? But it's replacing my exposure in the military defense contractors of Aerojet Rocketdyne. So we're kind of continuing that momentum. And I think, again, sticking with quality, all through and through. So with Northrop Grumman, though, I do want to say this about it. And if you kind of think about it from this perspective, my exposure to military defense contractors outperformed Northrop Grumman because I had Air Rocketdyne, which performed at 40%, and Northrop Grumman only performed 20%. So if you're thinking, why didn't you just buy Northrop Grumman in the first place? Well, it turned out to work out, and then I can just roll that position forward into Northrop Grumman. But that's not really how we're going to look at it. So I pulled up this older presentation to kind of talk about a couple things. The first thing I want to highlight is the backlog. So backlog is a good, I guess, thing you do want to look at that for military defense contractors, but in particular, the difference, or let's say a ratio between the annual sales and that backlog. So when they are actually highlighting that to you over 2 times annual sales, that's important to take note of. That is actually indicative of a high quality business. What you really don't want, a lower quality business in this space, is the backlog is going to be closer to the annual sales. That means they don't really have much room to play with, let's say. But Northrop Grumman definitely doesn't have that problem. Again, a lot of the products that they do sell to the military are in very high demand. And again, they play in the most exciting spaces for the military defense contractors. So all in all, this is, again, older information. I just wanted to highlight that. I thought it was kind of important or cool to show you guys that and really kind of digest that piece of the information. So what I also want to get into is some of the valuation measures and why I decided to buy now. Besides the fact that the price is down, let's say over the past month, 17%, and I go past 5 days, only down 2%. But really, this big drop off right here from peak to trough, or local peak to trough, down about 20%. So I think that in terms of the valuation, it actually looks pretty good. So ignore the cash flow projection from analysts. That's coming in wonky. But really looking at how, well, shout out to Goldman Sachs because they actually downgraded it before the sell-off. I think that is before the sell-off. Let me check, unless they are momentum timers. Let's see, 113. When did this happen? Oh, I take that back. No. Goldman Sachs, no. I take my compliment back. But point being, there are some downgrades, some neutrals. Now we're kind of seeing sentiment change. And I love those plays. I love to buy a quality business when the market forgets how quality it is. Now, that's easier said than done because, 1, humans are very emotional. And 2, not every time that a stock price falls has the quality, a quality business being sold off. Maybe it could be actually becoming lesser quality. And that happened, for example, with the likes of General Electric, which for a very long time, it was considered to be very high quality. And I believe the saying goes that no fund manager would ever get fired for buying IBM or General Electric, but maybe today you would, but back then, back in the day, you wouldn't. So you really do have to actually do analysis and figure out for yourself whether the company is still of high quality or it is deteriorating. Now, I want you to ignore the 30 to 40%. If I'm being honest, those are just fillers. If I want to be like crazy aggressive, I'd say the crazy aggressive is probably going to be on the 20%. And I describe, again, a 2% probability to that. Higher probability happening between the 15 and 10%. That's where I really want to focus and draw my attention to. So $390 is a very good price, in my opinion, if we were to get that. Even right now where I've been buying it, it is still an attractive price. I feel like that is a very high likelihood that we get to those numbers. The company is not at risk of bankruptcy, at least no metric is coming in as such, and it comes in with good, sustainable payout ratio for dividends, strong measures in return on equity, return on invested capital, and really overall also reducing those shares outstanding. And I really enjoy or really like seeing a conservative and also generous at the same time. Yes, that they can be both conservative and generous at the same time. I would actually say, instead of conservative, responsible. Okay. Capital allocation strategy to shareholders, rewarding you for that ownership via share buybacks, where you're basically owning more and more and more of the shares as time goes on, as well as providing you that cash dividend from which you can decide what to do with. You can invest in other businesses, reinvest back into the same business, or spend it, do whatever you want with it. So it gives you that optionality. I enjoy seeing that from the business. Really tells me that management is of course on our side, which that's really a low bar to pass, because I would hope that management cares about you, but you'd be surprised. We've looked at companies that definitely do not care about the shareholder base whatsoever. So with that being said, let me know down below, what do you guys think about Northrop Grumman? Do you think it's an interesting military defense contractor? Do you know of one that is better? Which one are you buying, or are you buying any of these at all? Maybe you're just avoiding any of them. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.